Hello and welcome to the SAP Activate session at TechEd. My name is Musil. I'm the Chief Product Owner for SAP Activate methodology, and it will be my pleasure to take you through some of the highlights of what we have introduced in Activate and take you through the implementation process for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. Now, we are going to go through the session in 4 segments. We're going to start with the brief introduction of SAP Activate. We will talk about deployment of SAP S/4HANA Cloud with Activate. And then we'll transition into talking about a set of recent innovations that we have introduced in SAP Activate in 2020. And then I'll take you through a couple of key things that you can take with you and use Activate in your own projects. So let's get started with Activate. What is Activate? What does it do for you? So Activate, first let me take you on a quick journey. We have introduced Activate into the market in 2015 with introduction of SAP S/4HANA at Sapphire in 2015 in May. And really the Activate implementation approach brings in a lot of new thinking that's more common to cloud deployments and transitions from the traditional design-based implementation process to process based on pre-delivered best practices, on identifying the fit of the solution to customer needs, and then using that fit to determine the delta requirements, the extensions, integrations that are needed on top of it, and using agile implementation techniques to implement the solution in short iterations, short sprints. And Activate, as opposed to our previous methodologies like ASAP, delivers a lot more prescriptive guided journey, not only for project manager, but also for all the project team members, whether that's configuration expert, integration expert, testers, or other team members. So SAP Activate consists of 3 components that you can see on your screen here. I'll take it from the left to the right. So I'm going to start talking about the business processes. That's the first big component of SAP Activate, are the ready-to-run business processes. In case of SAP S/4HANA Cloud, it is a set of best practices that SAP delivers, pre-configured, ready to run in the system that greatly accelerate the time to deploy. The second component is the prescriptive methodology that I already mentioned. It comes pre-delivered with SAP S/4HANA Cloud, and SAP is updating the methodology guidance every quarter with the major upgrade, but we also keep a minor upgrade cycle that is updating the methodology every 2 weeks with new innovations, refinement, and tweaks as our users are providing us feedback. And the third component of Activate are the tools that will allow you to configure the solution, test it, deploy it, and run it. Activate has been designed to support our customers to achieve greater speed of innovation in order to achieve higher productivity for their business users. And it is designed to be scalable to support customers of various sizes, whether it's a small deployment in one business unit or multi-country deployment across multiple teams, across multiple geographies of a wider footprint of the solution. All this in order to drive business impact for our customers. So now let's take a look at the 3 components. This picture shows you the 3 components with a couple of screenshots of how they look like. So the ready-to-run business processes are pre-delivered with business process models, a set of test scripts that will guide you through the steps of executing the business process, so you can execute the process directly in the system. The second component, Activate methodology, comes with a hierarchy structured around the 6 phases of the methodology. We'll see a little later in the presentation. We have a set of tasks in each of those phases that are structured into a set of deliverables they're completing during the project. And each task has prescriptive procedure for the team to follow, or for the individual that's executing that task to follow. And it's enriched with accelerators that can be templates, examples, or links to the tools that you then use to perform the implementation activities. One such tool is SAP Cloud ALM, which is highlighted in the third column, which is a tool for comprehensive application lifecycle management with SAP S/4HANA Cloud and other cloud solutions. And we'll see a little later in the presentation how it looks like. Now, before we go into the next section, let me ask my colleague, Kelsey Lapchinsky, who is joining me here, to show us a demo of SAP Activate in SAP Roadmap Viewer.
Thank you, Jan. Hi, my name is Kelsey Lapchinsky, and I'm an SAP S/4HANA product specialist with the SAP Activate team. Today, I will walk you through a quick demo of the introduction to the Roadmap Viewer navigation. The Roadmap Viewer is a tool which customers, partners, project teams, and even the public can use to consume the implementation content which SAP Activate offers. First, ensure you're logged into the tool via the icon located at the upper right-hand side of the browser. This will enable you to see all of the content per your access level. Note, the content is tailored to your profile level. If you do not sign in, you will see content per the public view. Once you are logged in, you can navigate to the desired implementation roadmap. For this demo, we will use the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Essentials Implementation Roadmap. A new feature which we're happy to bring to you is the option of language preferences to display the content in a handful of languages, such as English, German, Japanese, and Chinese at this time. You can toggle between languages or set your preference under your user profile. Next, I would like to highlight an important asset, which is the Implementation Roadmap Release Notes blog, which we offer in the Roadmap Viewer. You can find this located at the header section of the Implementation Roadmap. It shows the latest updates for biweekly sprints, if offered, and major releases for the solution. On the overview page of the Implementation Roadmap, you can see the high-level content at an overview level. You can dig deeper into the content by clicking the Content tab. This will bring you to the list of phases, deliverables, and tasks. You also have the option to filter on phases, work streams, and even tags to narrow down your search and view. For this demo, we will select the Review Overview Documentation task under the Getting Started with Your SAP Implementation deliverable in the Prepare phase. In this task, you can see that there's description text along with procedure steps and procedure notes to execute the steps appropriately. In addition, we offer accelerators to support the tasks. I will focus on the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Onboarding Presentation Accelerator, which offers a wealth of content to get started with your project implementation. Furthermore, you can view the entire list of accelerators in the implementation roadmap by clicking the accelerators option at the top of the screen. We're pleased to offer a Where Used option to see where accelerators are used in the implementation roadmap between tasks. You can turn this on by clicking the Where Used icon. Additionally, you can send us your feedback by clicking the Feedback option as well. We hope you enjoyed the new features and functionality of the Roadmap Viewer tool, and we look forward to your feedback. Back to you, Jan.
Thank you, Kelsey. So now let's take a look at how to deploy SAP S/4HANA Cloud with SAP Activate. So we are going to deep dive into the methodology and look at the 6 phases of the methodology that Activate is structured around. You can see them in the middle or slightly above in the middle of the slide in those colorful chevrons. We're starting with Discover phase, then we go into the Prepare phase, Explore, Realize, Deploy, and Run. So those are the phases of SAP Activate. The next is the set of milestones that you can see in red and green above the chevrons they show you the different events in the journey of implementation SAP S/4HANA Cloud, whether that's experiencing the trial system in your discover phase or going live in deploy phase, as you can see them in red and green. And then underneath the picture, underneath the chevrons, we have key events that happen along the implementation journey. So let me take you through the entire journey, and we'll then look at how it relates to the landscape that's implemented on. So first, we are in the deploy phase. In the deploy phase, the objective is to determine the scope of the solution and deployment approach. So we are looking at various events and activities that happen during this phase. And it can be implementation of or trial of the S/4HANA Cloud that you can access on sap.com and try the solution before you acquire the license. Once the team and once the customer buys the subscription license, they are transitioning into the prepare phase, in which they'll be standing up their project team, setting up users, enabling them, going through these self-enablement activities. And they'll also go through the preparation for fit to standard workshops, including obtaining the access to the starter system and SAP Cloud ALM and the configuration tools. Once you're done with the prepare phase, the team is going to transition into the explore phase. In the explore phase, there is a major event, which is a fit to standard workshops. Those are the playback sessions that we have talked about, where the business users are put in front of the running system. They're shown the business processes end to end. The processes are walked through. The project team is demoing the processes in the system live. They are also looking at the business process flows that come along with the business process content, and they're confirming the fit of the solution. Once the fit is confirmed, the team is also looking at the delta requirements, whether that's an extension or a simple configuration that's captured during this stage. And then before we exit from the explore phase, the team goes through a delta detailed design for all those extensions, integrations, or any other complex configuration that needs to be done in the system. Then we're transitioning into the realize phase. In the realize phase, the team works in short 1 to 2 weeks long iterations, sprints, in which the team goes through the configuration activities, they're testing the configuration, they're going through the extensions, they're testing the extensions, and they're integrating the solution with the satellite systems. And again, the integrations are tested during this stage. At the same time, the team is going through parallel planning for cutover activities for going live with the solution. And that's actually the focus on the deploy phase, in which the project team conducts the data migration activities into the production environment. They conduct the final configuration, final tests in the production environment, and they bring the solution live. So that's what happens in the deploy phase. Once the solution is live, the team is transitioning into the run phase, and they're running the solution productively. So that's basically how this implementation is set up and how it flows. Now we can look at the flow in relation to the individual systems that we have in place. So you can see on the left side that we have, underneath the picture, we have the image of the best practices being loaded into the starter system. So starter system is the first system that the team gets access to, and they will run the fit to standard workshops in the starter system. In the fit to standard workshop, the team confirms the scope of the solution that will be implemented, and that's then requested for the quality system. So the quality system is pre-configured, but only with the functionality that customer requires for their deployment. And the production system is provided or provisioned at the same time in order to support us in those weekly sprints in which we configure and test in quality. And then we take the configured functionality and transport it into production system so it can be used in production. Underneath the picture of the landscape, you can see also the configuration environment with SAP Central Business Configuration and SAP Cloud ALM, including the testing capabilities that are in Cloud ALM. So that's how SAP Activate looks like. Now we're going to take a look at another demo of Roadmap Viewer, where Kelsey will show us a couple of tasks and examples from Roadmap Viewer of how Activate looks like. Over to you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Jan. For this demo, I will show SAP Activate for SAP S/4HANA Cloud in the Roadmap Viewer. In the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Essentials Implementation Roadmap, I will filter on the Application Design and Configuration workstream. I will then filter and navigate to the Fit to Standard tasks in the Prepare and Explore phases. To further drill down, I will filter on the Explore phase. Under the Fit to Standard Analysis deliverable, I will select the Organizational Structure Conduct Workshop task. You can see the procedure steps outlined for this task, such as reviewing the organizational structure in the Configure Solution Starter system, mapping of the customer organizational structure to the delivered structure, defining the required adjustments needed, documenting changes to standard delivered accounts and additional accounts, or any changes to the standard organizational structure, and lastly, documenting all additional elements needed. Capturing of items can either be done in the Cloud ALM system or in the backlog template by the project team. Let's look briefly into the How to Approach Fit to Standard Analysis Cloud Accelerator to see how to run the workshop. As you can see, the accelerator breaks down the Fit to Standard process from the introduction of the process, customer self-enablement, business-driven configuration assessment, workshop preparation, workshop execution, and finishes with the solution realization in the realize phase. Throughout this accelerator, there are defined roles to help with understanding the entire end-to-end process of Fit to Standard. We are happy to bring you a new innovative accelerator, which was introduced earlier in 2020 within SAP Activate for remote Fit to Standard execution and the ability to sustain projects even with a remote project environment. This accelerator is called How to Approach Remote Fit to Standard Workshops Cloud Playbook. This concludes the demo for SAP Activate S/4HANA Cloud in the Roadmap Viewer. Back to you, Jan.
Thank you, Kelsey. So let's take a look at some of the recent innovations that we have introduced with SAP Activate in 2020. The first two I'll take you through are our playbooks that we have added into Activate to support our customers in implementation projects that are executed in a remote setup, whether that's because of new working environment, or part of the project team is unable to travel. That's all supported with these playbooks. When we started building these playbooks, we looked at the entire Activate, and pretty much out of the entire Activate, we have done everything remotely in some way, shape, or form, even before the lockdowns and before the new working remotely. We have done remote testing, we have done remote configuration. All these activities can be done remotely, and our consultants know how to do it. Where we had typically done these activities on site are the two playbooks that I'll talk about. So first one is Remote Fit to Standard. So this is a playbook that is built to complement the guide that's in SAP Activate for executing the Fit to Standard workshops. The standard guide gives you the description of the types of workshops that you're running, the flow, the tools, the setup of the workshop, agenda, attendees, sequence, and things like that. With this remote playbook, we have layered on the remote execution. So consideration for people working remotely, working from their home offices, working with maybe some interruptions that happen now and then. So the playbook is designed to give you a couple of techniques, the way of working, way of collaborating on workshop activities. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens during these workshops, a lot of discussions. So the playbook is designed to facilitate those discussions and allow you to use collaboration tools. Like in some cases, we use Mural for our projects, where we have multiple people designing the future process jointly, concurrently on their screen. So it's a very interactive way of how to execute those workshops. So that's the first playbook, and you can see the links, and you can always find the content in SAP Activate when you go into the Fit to Standard workshops. The second playbook that we have introduced is related to the second activity that is typically done remotely today, but it used to be done predominantly on site, and that's the cutover. So when we go through cutover activities, usually there used to be a on-site cutover center that was coordinating all the activities on cutover, did all the planning, did all the rehearsal. Now with the remote work, we have a lot of considerations to make how to coordinate activities, because there's a lot of activities that are happening at the same time or are very dependent. And we now cannot just turn over in our chair and talk to the next team member and say, now it's your turn. We need to coordinate. So we have created the remote cutover playbook to support you in planning those activities, rehearsing them, because there's a rehearsal of the cutover, and then executing the production cutover. Both these playbooks that I'm talking about has been used by countless SAP customers to get their projects live while we are in lockdown, sustain the business, innovate, and deliver their projects while we are in this new way of working. So now let me switch gears a little bit and let's talk about SAP Cloud ALM. I have mentioned SAP Cloud ALM a few times during this session. It is a innovation that has been brought to the market by SAP in 2020. And what it does, it takes the individual components of Activate that you can see on the picture, whether that's the methodology or the business process content, and brings them into a working environment for the project team. It combines the information that we have in Activate, the information that we have in the business processes, with the events that happen during the implementation project, like assigning tasks from Activate to a person. And how do we do that? We know what that person has as a role in the project, and we assign that person to a role, and it automatically assigns them the relevant tasks from Activate. In similar way, you can use the scoping activity and scope the best practices for the particular scope of the business process that you're implementing. So the SAP Cloud ALM provides you with a project environment that supports your project team and understanding where they are in execution of these implementation tasks. It gives you an environment in which the project team can collaborate, and they can use the capabilities of the tool to surface the requirements, confirm the fit, and capture the requirements that we talked about, the Delta requirements and Fit to Standard workshops. There are capabilities for documenting the solution and tracking your progress, as well as testing. So there's a comprehensive set of functionality that we have in SAP Cloud ALM, and SAP Activate powers the SAP Cloud ALM with the content, including the best practices content that's delivered in SAP Cloud ALM. So when you look at SAP Cloud ALM today, it supports 4 distinct capabilities for implementation. It also has a set of capabilities for operation, but that's way beyond what we can cover in this session. So the capabilities that we'll be focusing on a little later in demo is the task management. But before we get there, we have the process management capabilities that brings you the business process content, that brings you the capabilities for scoping, viewing the content, and documenting the Delta requirements. Task management exposes the implementation methodology, the SAP Activate implementation methodology to you and to your team, so you can use it. Testing allows you to set up testing scripts for your entire scope of the implementation. And then the change and deployment functionality allows you for planning and executing the deployment of capabilities to your environment. So those are the capabilities. Now we are going to take a look at the SAP Cloud ALM and the task management, and I'll show you a demo of how you use Cloud ALM to access SAP Activate methodology.
When you log on into the Cloud ALM system, you will have access to a number of tiles in the implementation. I have a lot of tiles in the implementation because my role is the expert for configuration. Thus, I have a lot of these implementation tiles and only a few in the operations and administration because my role is really focusing on implementation. I'll first access the overview page, which will give me a full overview of where the project is. It will tell me what's the overall progress, what are my upcoming tasks, what is the status of my tasks, and then I can see the additional details in the tiles. In this demo, I want to focus only on the aspect of how SAP Activate tasks are shown in the tool. So I'll go directly into my open task. That's my next task, which will take me into the environment that shows me all my tasks and all the tasks that are matching my filter. So in this case, it's all the tasks, but I am pre-selecting the task that I have clicked on the previous screen. As you can see, the view is slightly different here than what Kelsey was showing us, but we can see that we have additional details that are displayed. So we have the title of the task, we have the description with the procedure, including the names of the accelerators that are needed to complete this task, which is self-enablement task on the test automation tools. We have a procedure note that details out additional information about the enablement task. Then we have the actual accelerators section at the bottom. And what we do not see in Roadmap Viewer directly, but we can navigate between the tasks, we have the predecessor and successor tasks. So that's really very similar to how the information is displayed in Roadmap Viewer. But what we have here in addition is the actual project execution environment, where you can set due dates for execution of this task. You can assign the task to a specific role in the project. They come pre-delivered with pre-assignment out of Activate. And we have assigned this task to my role, which is Petty Business in this case. Not really my name, but for the sake of the example, I think it's sufficient. I can, of course, change the assignment to any other user here. And I also have ability to create comments around the task. Let's say this task is taking me a lot more time to execute, and I have only completed the first 3 items. So as a reminder to myself for when I will come back to the task tomorrow, I can say completed items 1, 2, and 3 from the task procedure. And I'll save this comment that will be available to me tomorrow when I get back to the task. So that's one interaction that's different. The other interaction that's different is that once I start working on the task, I want to set it in progress. So I'm not quite done. I'm not quite 50% done with the task. So I'm going to set it to 25% completeness. And that way I can track the interaction, I can track the progress of executing the tasks, and all this information is updated in real time in the overview page where we can always find the latest information. And this really concludes the demo for this session, and we'll go back to the presentation.
Okay, now let's take a look at the last section in which we'll talk about the lessons from the projects and some findings that we have had with our customers using SAP Activate. So here are the keys for success, if you will, in implementing SAP S/4HANA Cloud. Of course, you would expect that I'll highlight the use of SAP Activate methodology, but that's not really coming from me. This is coming from our customers and partners that are using Activate. Our consultants in SAP are always telling me that they check SAP Activate for any new innovations, any new content when they cannot figure out how to do something in their implementation project. The second key thing is to follow agile principles. Doing the implementation in short sprints is really important for your project team to keep the cadence and also to keep moving the configuration from your quality environment into production. Living the cloud mindset. Living the cloud mindset really means thinking of incremental changes that you're making in your environment rather than these big bang deployments of the past. We really want you to be focused on implementing in an incremental way. And with cloud, you can really do that. We have customers that have implemented, first set of capabilities and then continuously enhanced and extended their footprint. Focusing on organization change management, I think that's a constant. That's a constant that we have had in previous implementations. It's even more so in the cloud where there is a lot more emphasis on self-enablement, self-sustainment, and using the tools and the provided help features to use the tools. So that's really key. Choosing and collaborating with the implementation partner that knows how to implement S/4HANA Cloud is critical. And for the partner as well as the customer, providing the right resources that can dedicate the time, can be part of the implementation and have knowledge how to implement or have the knowledge of their business. Using integrated holistic planning, and that really goes back to communicating with SAP, communicating with your partner, and letting SAP know when you're planning key events in your project, like go live. Knowing that we can support you much better from the SAP side with our experts that are supporting you through those activities in your critical go live activities. And that also brings in the strategic alignment. I cannot spend too much time going into this in this session, but there's a dedicated session that goes into a little more details. DT 916, you can see it on the screen, and I highly encourage you to view that session during your TechEd experience. Now, we have talked about several components of Activate. I want to highlight a couple things that you can take with you that you can do today, and that will get you to use Activate or to understand Activate better. So first is the SAP Jam site for SAP Activate. It currently has over 38,000 users that are SAP Activate users. You can come in and join them. talk to my team directly, talk to the experts directly, talk to your peers in implementation projects directly. So you can see the URL on your screen. You can request to be added, and we'll happily add you and welcome you to the community. The second component is the roadmap viewer. While not everybody listening to this session may have access to SAP Cloud ALM, everybody can access SAP Roadmap Viewer. So we encourage you to access SAP Roadmap Viewer. Again, URL is on the page. If you cannot type quickly, join the SAP Activate community. Direct link is right from the community main page. And the third component is the SAP Best Practices Explorer. This is where you will find all the content for best practices for SAP S/4HANA Cloud and other SAP solutions, including test scripts, business process models, and description of how to set up integrations. So all that is available to you. My team has worked very hard over the past few months and collaborated with Sven Denneken, myself, and Shri to put together a comprehensive guide for SAP Activate implementations. It is a book that's published by SAP Press, and if you're interested in learning more about Activate, there is a 15% discount code on your screen that you can use to purchase the online version or a physical book version of the SAP Activate book. So those are great assets that you can use today and utilize them. Talking about great assets, we have a lot more interesting sessions that you can attend during the SAP TechEd experience. You have a number of them that are related to what I talked about on your screen, whether that's that DT916 session that I talked about previously, or sessions that are talking about RPA and other implementation activities. So those are great resources. You have great resources on sap.com, as well as the SAP Activate Jam that I mentioned on the previous slide. And if you want to go beyond Activate, beyond S/4HANA Cloud, there are sessions that you can go through in TechEd, in your TechEd experience. We encourage you to join, listen to the sessions, ask questions, engage with our experts, and that's the best way to get most out of this TechEd session. So with this, I want to thank you all for staying with me in this session, to listening to SAP Activate story, lessons from projects. And if you have further questions, I encourage you to either post in SAP Activate Jam or directly contact me at the address that you can see on your screen. Thank you very much.